What is up, guys? It's Sky. Welcome to another episode of Fighter Plane Mastery, the series where I break down individual dogfights and help you adapt your piloting to different situations. Hope you caught the last episode of Flight School because I broke down how to manage angles, elevation, and airspeed in a competitive dogfight. Today's episode of Fighter Plane Mastery is kind of a doozy. This one ends up lasting like 5 minutes. My opponent today is your classic good pilot. He's real comfortable with the controls, he knows how to tail you, he has fairly good aim, and he's able to cut your maneuvers fairly well. But he doesn't really have knowledge of dogfight mechanics. He doesn't know how to manage his elevation and airspeed. Once I turn the tables on him and get the advantage on him, he doesn't really know how to build back his elevation and then quickly reverse the dogfight, and it digresses into a perpetual horizontal circle jerk. So this episode of Fighter Plane Mastery is multifaceted. I'm going to show you how to build your elevation in a negative dogfight, and I'm also going to show you ways to deal with a horizontal circle jerker. First things first, roll the tape back to when he actually gets the advantage on me. Now from this elevation, I'm not going to be able to reverse this dogfight. So I go into a wide barrel roll to initially throw off his aim, and then while I'm descending, I'm actually building airspeed, just free falling. Using what little elevation I have, I'll brake toward him, keep my speed, turn right into him, complete 3/4 of a turn, use the throttle to gain elevation, and switch toward my opponent. Each time I repeat this, I'm going to gain more and more elevation. Remember to always complete 3/4 of a turn and then switch. And you decide a direction to switch by clues from the minimap and sound from the headphones. Eventually you'll have enough elevation to make a move. That's the key in a real competitive negative dogfight. You gotta gain elevation. There's really nothing you can do close to the ground. That's the biggest downfall of even good pilots, is that you'll get stuck in a rut of just looping close to the ground, not really getting anything done. Remember, nothing gained, nothing lost. I finally ended up neutralizing the dogfight, and I've built up enough elevation to make some moves. You'll notice it took me quite a while to set the dogfight to neutral, and that means my opponent didn't touch the brakes. He also did a fairly good job of following my maneuvers. If he would have jammed on the brake to try to turn tighter, I would have gotten time on him immediately. At this point, I get the advantage on my opponent, and he digresses into perpetual horizontal circle jerking. To be fair, he doesn't really know any better. I actually ended up killing this guy like 5 times in this round. There's really nothing wrong with that, you know. Everyone's gotta learn somehow. I remember the Battlefield 3 days going like 0-20 because I had no idea what I was doing, and no one was nice enough to make a YouTube channel about how to fly. Now he's doing the circle jerk motion a little too close to the ground for me to cut him with a low yo-yo. So in that situation, just keep turning with him, but stay above them. You see me turn with him, but slowly building my elevation. Now your opponent is probably going to turn out of view, but just have faith. Keep turning, you'll eventually gain sight of him again, and you'll be able to cast in your elevation for a move. You'll be able to take quick snapshots, slowly chip away at him. In this situation, my opponent makes a fatal mistake, switches away from me. That gives me a huge advantage that I'm pretty much just going to keep until the end of the dogfight. Now the horizontal circle jerk is especially difficult to deal with in BF1 because there's no speed control anymore. There's no magic move or mechanic that's going to let you instantly get the advantage on a lesser experienced pilot. A couple episodes ago in my Flight School series, I talked about how the horizontal loop close to the ground is an effective means of buying time if you know you can't beat your opponent. As long as you don't hit the brakes or switch away from your opponent, you can keep slipping your opponent's aim. If a dogfight goes on long enough, then a lot of times it can digress into a horizontal circle jerk. It's basically a sign that your opponent doesn't know how to deal with increasing their elevation in a negative dogfight. As I gamble with a vertical loop in the gameplay to counter my opponent's horizontal loop, sometimes you need to make these risk-reward moves, but there's really not that much risk involved because you can look down and pretty much guess what your opponent's doing. But like I've always said, people do what works for them, even if it's not technically sound. Through trial and error, people find out the ways that they can stay alive. When the stuff hits the fan, people have found that going into a perpetual horizontal circle jerk keeps them alive the longest. Hopefully I've given you enough tips on how to operate in a negative dogfight to keep from doing this. Now the problem with the horizontal loops, the horizontal circle jerk, is that, again, nothing gained, nothing lost. You can slip your opponent's aim all game, but the name of the game is to reverse the dogfight and end it quickly, not just wait for your opponent to get frustrated and break off. Anyways guys, hope you learned a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Feindflugzeug, aufpassen! We have lost objective Duff. We have lost objective apples. We have taken objective Duff. We have taken objective Charlie.
Feindliches Flugzeug gesichtet!
We have lost objective Butter.
Feindliches Flugzeug!
Return to the combat area. We have taken objective apples. Return to the combat area. Return to the combat area.
Jerry, von oben!
Return to the combat area. We have
Feindliches
lost
Flugzeug,
objective
Jungs!
apples.
Feindflugzeug, aufpassen!